What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today is April the 29th. I want to give you a quick pre-market update, go over some of the hot movers and what big money is doing today. Before we get into any of that though, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. Starting with data points, we do have JOLT numbers coming out at 9 a.m. that could cause some volatility. Clearly, based on yesterday's data point, the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index, that caused a lot of disruption in the broader market, obviously. So the market still, even though it's gone up quite a lot over the last little bit, still is uncertain. So again, a lot of big data points coming out this week that could cause some volatility. But aside from that, though, you did recently have HSBC cut the S&P target, or their target, from 6,700 to 56. A lot of other institutions have done similar types of stuff over the last couple of weeks, so we'll have to wait and see what the data points do bring in the foreseeable future. But currently, it looks like it's kind of mixed. So Dow is up 0.44, S&P is flat, and then NASDAQ is down 0.09. So I think the market is just waiting for big tech and also a lot of the other big data points, GDP, PCE tomorrow, to kind of reconfirm that we're going to be moving higher. But aside from that though, fear and greed index is under the fear category, still improving from what it was though, so meaning people's appetite for risk is increasing. Starting off though with SoFi, they just had their earnings. This was the estimate, 738.91 million. It came in at 771. And earnings per share was 3 cents, came in at 6 cents. So essentially a double beat. I'm not really sure about the future guidance as of yet, but it seems as though the market is really liking what they are seeing. So this is some of the tentative results. I'll do a video later on covering SoFi and a lot of the key highlights, but going into shorts, so 13.69% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 147.46 million shares. So shorts have been really increasing leading up to today's point. Even during the kind of pre-market, it's had a lot of volatile swings. So I believe it was like 1290 the low, and pretty much where we're at now is kind of the high. So it should be a very volatile day. So I do anticipate shorts to actually be fairly active. So just somewhat keep that in mind. With it at 1392 though, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 1246 is going to be a strong support. And then 1401 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So let me know your viewpoint, and if you're buying or if you plan on selling today, what's your kind of general thoughts? Moving on to Wolf Speed. So this one's starting to gain some pretty good traction. It is up 17.43%, just piggybacking off of the pre-existing momentum. And I think at the same time, when it did hit the lows of like that $2 range, people were pretty much pricing in bankruptcy. And now they're starting to realize that might not necessarily be the case. So I think people are starting to, not FOMO in, but starting to see it as a value play a little bit. The only thing that has really come out recently was this right here at 144. Did insinuate that this person right over here, Neil, whatever Reynolds, did sell 13,000 shares, works out to be $55,000 worth, and that was done yesterday on the 28th. So nothing really crazy, if you ask me. Officer, that's their position. So again, not that big of a deal, but it is somewhat heavily shorted. So 39.95% of the free float being shorted, works out to be 61.63 million shares. Shorts, oddly enough, haven't really been reactive to the price increase. So with it recovering, shorts are actually returning. So they're adding additional buying pressure, because in case you don't know, shorts returning, they add buying pressure. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So maybe this is something to really pay attention to as far as a swing trade. With it right now at 483, trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 568 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. 405 will be a strong support. So given the circumstances, I don't see this pivot point being touched. Rather, it might be orienting towards this R1. Maybe not today, but most likely over the next 2 days, that should hit, assuming all the data points come in line with expectations. Moving on, ticker is ABEO. So this one is gaining some traction, up 3.74%, and that is because of this. As I've kind of expressed in the past, biotechs aren't really my forte, but this is what's causing it to go up. So it looks like the FDA is giving them the rubber thumbs up for approving 𝗪𝗧𝗛, if I'm saying that right, the first and only cell-based gene therapy for patients with recessive, I'm not going to butcher that name. So you guys obviously can do your own due diligence and so forth. It's not that heavily shorted. Shorts have actually increased recently, but nothing overly crazy. 8.3% of the free float's being shorted, works out to be 2.84 million shares. Right now with it at 5 and change, so 547, trading between these 2 points is R2 and this R1. 536 will be a strong support, and then 558, 593 will be the next strong target / resistance points. Even looking during the pre-market, you can kind of see it did have a spike to around 660, and then right now it seems to be selling off a little bit. So anything is possible, so just kind of do your own due diligence with that one. And then moving on from here, ticker MLGO. So this one's starting to gain some pretty good momentum, up 4.22%. And there hasn't been any news today, so I think it's just a little bit more of a recovery from yesterday's sell-off because of this news that did come out. So in my opinion, this is something to pay attention to. I actually put this as a buy on my Patreon. I gave some good entry points and also exit points, several of them in fact, depending on if you're a day trader or swing trader. So pop over to my Patreon if you are curious or interested, but this one should do fairly okay, at least in the short term. Nothing overly crazy in my opinion, so I don't think we're going to see these all-time high numbers again as what they did have, like of like $40 or whatever it was. But 22.9% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 1.86 million shares. It is on the threshold list. It looks as though since the 25th. So normally if a stock is on that threshold list for 13 consecutive trading days, you're supposed to have the SEC going after market makers, but it's kind of a little bit too early to kind of start talking about that. And if you kind of compare it though, technically while it's been on the threshold list in the past, it has really prompted push like a market momentum with it. So maybe it could be a good entry point or a buy signal based on that. Kind of interesting mentality, I guess. But right now with it at 743, trading between this S1 and S2, so 810 is going to be a key point to really watch for it to get over early on in today. So let me know your viewpoint on that. Then last but not least, tickers HIMS is up because of this news right here. So I don't see this being a good reason to go higher. And actually, as I've disclosed in the past, I've made a ton of money shorting this. There's just way too many social media influencers and just people like just die by this company. They love it to no end. And I honestly don't see the hype whatsoever. So honestly, yeah, it's one of those kind of scenarios. If I saw that it did go to that 42 range in time, I would have easily shorted that pre-market. That seems to be the high it went to, like 42.05. But honestly, sometimes when the market has some pretty good momentum, this will kind of move it. So logic, I don't think really follows it all that great. But as far as some support and resistance points, with it at 37 and change, trading between this R1 and the pivot, so 34.37 will be a strong support. 41.68 is going to be the next strong target / resistance, and it kind of bounced off of that general area, so we know that's a very strong one. So just keep that in mind if you are day trading or whatever else. But 32.31% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 62.24 million shares. So shorts are going to play a very big part in today. But like I said, I think just a lot of the smart money does realize that this is and should not be around these prices whatsoever. But then again, like I said, people love the idea of just hitting it big, having like the next Amazon type stock, and a lot of social media influencers, a lot of YouTubers and whatever will pump this and portray this as the next Amazon. So again, I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, and this does go up to, from what I've seen, $500, $1,000 of what people are saying over the next couple of years it'll hit. I don't see that possible. So yeah, once the market does open, if it does stay somewhere remotely around these prices, or even better yet, if it goes back to that 42, I'll be buying some puts against this, because I don't see this around these prices justified. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, if you are looking for some kick-ass buy signals, pop over to my Patreon. I give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.